Good morning. So today we're going to be doing Do You Know Your Opponent? Part 8. And this is going to be talking about the things that we allow through our eyes and through our ears to listen to what we see. We're going to be talking about the music that we listen to, the TV and movies that we watch, and anything else. That books that you read. Everything that we read goes into our subconscious, whether you think so or not. It doesn't really matter. It does. When you're watching a TV show, it puts you in a vegetative state of mind where it just allows everything that's coming from that TV to be going into your subconscious. Whether you don't know, because you're too busy watching TV and you're thinking, oh, this is entertaining, but really it's feeding you information. It is downloads of information. The same thing with music. For example, if you have a problem with lust and you can't seem to shake it, you might want to check what type of music you're listening to. If you're listening to, I won't say names because I just feel like I don't want to give them credit. But if you're listening to the people that are in secular music, the women, the men, I don't care if it's rock and roll to hip hop to country, whatever. All of it now has started to brainwash the masses. It started to push everyone to accept adultery. It started to push everyone to accept fornication. It started to push everyone to accept lust, greed, violence, drug addiction. It pushes that as the norm. If you're battling certain issues like that, you might want to look at what you're watching. If you are, and what you're listening to. If you are battling lust for real, turn off the TV. If you're watching shows that have sex scenes in them and you can't figure out why you can't shake the lust, it's probably because of what you're watching. What you don't realize is, it tells us in the Bible that Satan is the ruler of this world and he rules over the airwaves. So what do you think the airwaves are? That is your television, that is the music, and that is the internet. So if you are being bombarded with images on the internet, then you need to put a block up on your phone. There are programs that you can block different things from coming through. If you are, battling issues with social media, get off of it. Erase it. You're not going to die without it. Trust me. But or clean it out. Guard your eyes and ears because that is the window and the way to your soul. Literally, it is. So we need to be making sure that we are staying on point and staying on the lookout, because the moment that you let your guard down is the moment that Satan has that foothold and he slides right on in. And once he gets his foot in the door of your life, oh, you best believe it's not just going to be one issue. He's going to usher in a whole bunch of friends, all of them, to come in. One of the things for me, TV has never been very big of an issue for me because I've never really, anymore, I don't sit down and watch a TV show. Usually I listen to things more than anything because I'm always constantly moving and doing stuff. I don't like really sitting down, and when I do, it's usually I'm sitting down and still working on a project or something. So for me, it's listening to things. So I always try to, number one, I don't listen to secular music. Don't get me wrong, I can't say that I haven't done it since I've been a Christian, but it's usually old music if I do, but it's few and far. Pretty much all day, every day, if I'm listening to music, it is going to be Christian-based music that is going to edify God, it is going to lift me up, and it's going to keep me in a wonderful mood. I remember back in the day, when I would listen to certain songs, all of a sudden I would take on those emotions. So if I listened to a song about breaking up, all of a sudden I'm in a bad mood and I'm feeling I'm unloved and that I'm gonna have to break up with my boyfriend at the time. And those are the things that people don't realize, is how powerful music and the things that we watch are. what people don't realize is what you're taking in is affecting you. If I would listen to certain songs where it was like about, getting hyphy, going to the club, um, you know, being provocative, uh, acting like I'm, the prettiest, most gorgeous person in the world. People don't realize that these songs are literally teaching you how to be a narcissist. Most of the songs are very narcissistic. They talk about themselves, how they are better than the other person, or other girl, or how they can take, the man from the other girl. This is all like disgusting narcissistic behavior, and it's traits that people are taking on because of them literally coding their brain that this is okay and coding themselves that that's how they want to be. The same goes with TV. Like, there's all these shows on TV now, that are geared towards women or men. There are shows that they put on now where it shows men as being weak and effeminate, and they are emotional and all of this, and that's not true. And they're programming men that that's the way to act. It's not. It isn't. They're doing it with women. They're programming women that you have to be independent, you don't need a man, you don't need anyone. They're programming women that it's you just need sex, so go sleep around with everybody, but don't tie yourself to anyone, don't get married, don't have children, don't do any of that, you just sleep around. They're doing this on purpose. And they're breaking down the family structure. They're breaking down the structure of what God built, which is that, a man and a woman come together, they become one, and they procreate, and they build a family, and they teach their kids and love their kids and nurture their kids. That's not happening anymore. I mean, in all of the TV shows, most of them, that's not what they're showing. They're not showing that anymore. We went from watching shows like The Cosby Show, or Growing Pains. Yes, I'm aging myself. I don't care. These were shows that showed the family structure, and they showed a mom and a dad who had, good careers, and they taught their children life lessons and things like that. That's not what they're showing anymore. We have moved into the era of like anything that is any debauchery, any just disgustingness that they can possibly think of in their mind, they're putting it out there in front of your face. And you have to really guard what you're taking in. If you are battling issues with anger and things like that, once again, what kind of music are you listening to? Are you listening to music that is encouraging violence? Are you listening to music that is pushing anger, whether it's angry acts on another person or just anger in general? Are you listening to music that is pushing you to not have compassion anymore for people? Are you listening to music or watching movies and TV shows that are pushing selfishness? Instead of helping one another, it's pushing you to be about self. It's all about me, and me. I remember there was a song. I'm not going to say who sings it, but if you know the song, then you'll know who sings it. But it was called Me, Myself, and I. And it was like, that's all I got in the end. I used to listen to that song all the time. And literally, that's how I thought. Was like, in the end, it's me, myself, and I. It's all about me, and it's protect me, enjoy my life, do what I want to do. Don't really care about the other people around me unless you were like my friend or like my family members who I love. Other than that, if you were just people I knew, even a boyfriend, it was me, myself, and I. It wasn't until coming to Christ that I realized, oh man, the things that I was listening to No wonder I was reacting and acting in the ways that I was. I was feeding myself, feeding my spirit this nonsense. I was feeding myself songs about lust, about being a narcissist, and then couldn't figure out how I had narcissistic behavior. Guess I figured it out now. Um, and one of the other things I want to use an example of, years ago, a couple years ago, there was a girl that I met. We were at a retreat. We were at a retreat, and basically, I was towards the end. We were wrapping up the. So I want to share this interesting story. So, my pastor's wife was talking to these ladies. We were at this retreat. It was a woman's retreat, and we were on the last day. And she called me over, and she's like, "Carla, come here. I want you to meet this lady and her daughter." She ended up becoming my friend, because usually that's how things go. But I went over there, and the Holy Spirit took over, and I started to talk to her. And usually when that happens, the Holy Spirit will he just flows through me. I can't even say that I'm even controlling what's coming out. I'm not. I, I tell you, when the Holy Spirit takes over, I sound like the most intelligent person in the world. And so I just started speaking to her, and the reason why the pastor's wife wanted me to talk to her is because of my background and where I came from. Because I came out of the occult, I came out of New Age, I came out of practicing witchcraft, casting spells, you name it, I was doing it. And I had spent the first year of my beginning of my journey, before I even accepted Jesus, while I was still in the New Age, I hadn't even came out yet. I spent it studying my opponent, and that was Satan. I wanted to know everything about him because I knew that if he hated me that much, that he wanted me dead. I wanted to find out how he was going to try to kill me, and what he does in my life that leads me to death, leads me to sin, and leads me to hell. So I started studying him and looking into different things. And that brought me to realizing at that time, once I studied him, that I had to do a deliverance on myself. I was going to have someone do the deliverance, but that's a whole nother story. But I ended up doing it on myself. And because of that, she wanted me to talk to her. And so we started talking, and immediately the Holy Spirit is feeding me things. And the next thing I know, we weren't talking about anything that had to do with this, but I just said to her, "Do you watch horror movies?" And she said, "Oh yeah, I love horror films." And she's like, "I have a whole collection of horror films." And immediately I just looked at her, and I was like, "Throw them away. When you get home today," I was like, "do not give them to anybody. Don't put them in a box in your garage." I was like, "grab a garbage bag and throw every single movie in it. Break them if you want to. I don't really care. But throw them in the bottom of the garbage, and don't watch another horror movie." And she was like staring at me, almost like, "Okay." And I started to tell her why. I said, "That is how Satan has a foothold in your life." I was like, "He is using those movies as the doorway to cause you other problems." Now, mind you, I did not know her whole story, but then time goes by, we become friends. She starts coming to my women's Bible study at my house, and one day we're talking, and that's when I find out that she has battled with sleep paralysis. And I told her, and so ever since she had ditched the movies, the sleep paralysis had stopped. And I was asking her, Are you still having it? You know, and she's like, no. It had pretty much, you know, kind of disappeared. And this was happening after she had, was attending our church, because I had seen her before. I just never really met her. She was attending our church. She had gotten baptized at the same time as my best friend. So yes, you can be baptized and be demonically oppressed, not possessed, but oppressed, yes. And so basically, I started working with her about different things that were going on within her life. And that's kind of how God gave me the opening to start working with different women one on one, and kind of coaching them on how to build their faith in God and how to change, because change is hard and it's not easy. And so what we have to learn is to replace what we take out and omit in our lives. We have to replace it with something. Otherwise, you will go back to the same thing. So when I had to get rid of all of my secular music, I replaced it. I replaced it with music that edified God, music that made me happy. I replaced it with upbeat songs that speak about God's love, that speak about being grateful, having gratitude, being happy. Literally, there's a song that I listen to now that's just like, says, I'm about to have a good day. In every single way. The sun is shining down on me. And like, it's songs like that that we should be listening to. It's songs that are edifying God and talking about how beautiful He is and how He loves us and how He blesses us and how He wants us to win. Like, God doesn't want to see us struggling. He doesn't want to see us battling. He wants to see us win. And so also the same thing. I had to change what I was listening to, what I was watching. Very rarely now, I don't have the mind capacity anymore to just sit and stare at a TV screen. 9 times out of 10, I will turn the TV on, but I'll be listening to it while I'm like working on my computer, like making t-shirts or designing something, or designing a logo, or just, I can't sit still and just stare at the TV. It just doesn't do me any good. If I'm not doing that, like, I would prefer reading. So I just have changed what I read. Before, I used to read a lot of like fiction and a lot of novels, back in the day, by authors that, you know, the novels would be graphic. They wouldn't be like pornographic, but they would have like love scenes in them. They would have cursing in them. And so I gave up that. I started reading books on all different kinds of things. I'm really into like people's testimonies and how they came to Jesus, how Jesus called them. I'm very interested in things like that. I'm interested in like the psyche, what turns people into things, especially once I started studying my opponent. That led me into wanting to study like kind of the mind and how Satan can get into someone's mind so deep that he can cause them to do things that they would normally not do. And so those are the things that I started to really get interested in. I read the Bible. But really, you know, even you have to watch with your children, because they now have, you know, the children's shows, and they're sneaky. They sneak things in. I have a 3-year-old grandson who watches like little kid shows, and it'll be on YouTube, and next thing you know, I'm like, this is a grown adult dressed as like a cartoon character or whatever, but what they're doing is not childlike behavior or doing anything that a kid should be watching. So you have to be careful. You have to pay attention, especially when you're watching something. Be wide awake. Don't just watch something and think, oh, it's okay. You need to be paying attention, because they slip things into the TV shows, they slip things into the music. You really have to be on guard. My recommendation, I know this sounds harsh, but my recommendation is to fast from the TV. Literally, like, take time to just not watch TV. Take time to go outside, to breathe the air, to take up a hobby, garden, paint, do something that uses your God-given talents instead of wasting them sitting in front of a TV, or wasting them, listening and just staring at, YouTube or whatever. Like, use things that use the internet, use the YouTube, use these things to like learn new skills, to do something that's going to bring you to create something, instead of just sitting there, just sucking in and taking in everything that you're watching. It's very important that you are protecting what you watch, because what you watch, what you listen to, will cause you to behave in a certain way, and it'll also cause you to speak a certain way. So if you're listening to songs that have cursing in them, I be expected to be cursing then, because that's what you're taking in. So just remember what you take in. So just remember what you take in, you will project out. And that will be what everyone else sees, hears, and thinks of you. So do you want to project yourself as a person who follows God, who loves their neighbor, and who represents the light that God is? Or do you want to represent Satan and the darkness of this world and the narcissism that is literally sucking everybody in and taking over this world?